Hello again, fishing friends. Tá míle fáilte roiveríist. You're very welcome to another video. And today it's milling rain, high winds, and it's cold. So never a better day than this for tying flies. A lot of you are looking for wet flies for some reason. Hopefully it's becoming fashionable again. So stay with me. I'm going to tie a beautiful wet fly. There seems to be somewhat of a revival of wet fly fishing, if the comments on my video channel are anything to go by. By the way, I just passed 20,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. I never thought for a minute that many people might be interested in the kind of stuff I do, but in any case, it's somewhat of a milestone. I've been doing this a few years now, and 20,000 subscribers would have been inconceivable for me when I started, but I keep gaining more subscribers all the time, so much appreciated everybody who recently joined the channel, so to speak, or subscribed. Anyway, coming back to the wet fly fishing, somewhat of a neglected art now, I would say. It's seldom you'll see anybody wet fly fishing now. 99.9% of people that I see fishing now are Euro nymphers. That just seems to be the case. Seldom will you see anybody fish a wet fly, and sometimes it's rare now even to see anybody fish a dry fly. It's just Euro nymphing all the way. No doubt it works, but I think it's a pity to neglect the other arts such as the dry fly and the wet fly. Now, a lot of people have been asking me on the channel to tie wet flies. Now, I did for some time kind of neglect wet fly fishing as well, but in the last 4 or 5 seasons I've been doing a bit of wet fly fishing at the beginning of the season, and it's so enjoyable and so very relaxing way of fishing, and I'm glad to be back at it, if you like. The flies I use are flies that some of them are really old patterns, some of them are sort of newer developments, if you like, and one of them, the one I'm going tying today, is sort of a new development that I've been using for a couple of seasons, and it's been working really well for me. It's a sort of a crossbreed, if you like. Mightn't, for the purist, I suppose, it isn't a pure wet fly. You'll see as I go along, it's sort of a wet fly, I suppose, is essentially a nymph anyway. So if you like, what I'm going tying today is a sort of a crossbreed, if you like. It's a kind of a crossbreed between a wet fly and a nymph, but it's so effective, it's unbelievable. Anyway, we'll get to it, and I hope you enjoy watching it. The most useful size to tie this fly in is a size 14, and I'm using here a size 14 wet fly hook. They're partridge, and the designation is G3A/L. That's the model number. I would urge you to always use quality hooks. You could always buy cheap, but cheap is rarely good. So, okay, the tying thread I'm going to use here is Semperfli Nano Silk in olive, and it's 30 denier. Okay, so just lay down a little bed of your tying thread. Still called tying silk by some, despite the fact that silk isn't used at all now, or at least very rarely. So anyway, lay down a bed of, or 1 second now, what I need to do is to reverse here. I almost forgot myself. We're not going all the way down there, so just there, we're just back roughly quarter away from the front of the hook, and now I'm going right up to the front, so the bed of thread is only just back a quarter of the ways. Now, a snipe wing, they can be got in from any fly tying distributor. I shot a lot of them over the years, so I have quite a selection of wings. So I've taken one feather out. Now we're going to do this fly, it might seem in reverse, and I suppose it is in reverse. So we're going to catch the feather by the front, and we're going to splay it back like that. So this is what you have. Your tying in point is just there, okay? So I'm going to trim off just there and offer it up to the hook and tie in. Now, snipe feathers are very delicate. You need to be very careful how you use them. You've got to I've got to try and find a hackle pliers here now. Looks like it's gone missing. I have one here, whether it'll work or not. I've yet to find a good hackle pliers in all the years I've been tying flies. Anyway, I'm going to grab the feather by the central stalk. You've got to be very careful, like I said, they're delicate. Now I'm going to fold it back on itself, and I'm doing this really gently. And what you're looking for is just 1 or 2 turns. That's 1 turn. 2 turns, okay? And I'm going to tie it in at that point. Now it might not seem like a lot of feather, but any more than that is unnecessary. Now, so I'm going to, that might snap off. There we go. Now, so I'm going to whip finish here now. Like I said, we're doing this fly sort of in reverse. Now, beads. They're called caddis green nymph heads. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be caddis green, but I found that caddis green was more effective than other color beads. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the fly out of the hook and put the bead on. So hence the sort of crossbreed between a nymph and a wet fly. Okay, so there you are. That's what you have at this point. Now again, you're going to have to restart with your tying thread. And this time we're going to go all the way down to the bend. It's not a difficult fly to tie. Just that you have to be careful with the very soft feathers. Now, it's gold wire. In this case, it's UTC gold wire. BR, I think that's the size. That's the size that it is. But basically, it's sort of medium gold wire, I would call it. And now I'm going to tie that in all the way up to the bead, back down. And now, here's here. I don't even need to tell you how effective hare's ear is on any fly. So we're going to offer up a nice little sort of, you don't want to push this on too hard, you want it to sort of be relatively loose. Now it will, if you put it on too hard, it will loosen as you catch a few fish and as you fish it, but I just tie it on relatively loose. And now just touching turns up along. There we go. And now you put in the wire in the direction opposite to the way you put on the deer hair, or sorry, the hare's ear. And 4 or 5 turns on the way up along, tied in tight behind the bead. Trim it off. Now I'm going to whip finish again right behind the bead. 1, 2, 3 turns, and another 3 turns just for safety. There you go, folks. Very simple. But is it effective? As it pulls through the water, you'll notice the hare's ear is it's kicked slightly forward at the moment, right? So as you move this fly through the water, the legs tend to move in and out. Right? If you use your rod, like I do, if you watch some of my videos on wet fly fishing, you'll see how I fish wet flies. And what it does is it sort of pulses through the water. The snipe feather has a lot of movement in it. That is a wet fly, or if you like, I don't know what you might call it. a flymph. I've heard the name used, flymph, F-L-Y-M-P-H. But is it effective? It's extremely effective. So that's it. Doesn't get really much easier than that, or more effective. It's just unbelievable, really. I've caught them at times 4, 5, 6 fish on consecutive casts with this little fly, and it's a joy to fish. It's just so relaxing. So if you haven't fished wet flies before, or have fished wet flies before and kind of neglected it like a lot of people, I would urge you to get back at it. It's just a great way to fish, and of course it is one of the traditional ways to fish. So once again, thanks for joining me for this video. If you're not already a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel, as I do stuff like this all the time, tying flies and fishing and other stuff besides. So Shinna will, that's it, and see you next time. Slán go fóill.